Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to today's live reading from Enchanted in Time by Nikki, Lynn, Barrett, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Join me for Chapter 1. If she makes it through the summer, I'd be surprised. Roxanne Ferris glanced up from the papers she was supposed to sign to give her attention to her friend Renee, then flicked her gaze to the woman she spoke of, 93-year-old Claudette Grayson, the best-selling author of classic fiction. An icon, a legend. Currently, Claudette stared at them with a scowl etched across her face. She wasn't happy to have so many people in her presence at the moment, no doubt. This summer, Roxanne would be the caretaker for Claudette, who refused to leave her large, lavish home in the backwoods of Louisiana. She could barely walk, unless she relied on a walker, after a fall and breaking her hip. Renee said she'd begun showing the signs of dementia, but she hated the idea of someone coming into her home. Somehow, though, Renee had finally gotten her to agree. They'd vetted through many applicants, and that was how Roxanne's name came up, and what led her here to actually taking the job. After an incident of her own, the idea appealed to Roxanne to stay here for the summer and spend time as Claudette's companion. To gently pick the mind of a writer who weaves such amazing stories was like a dream come true, despite the circumstances for the summer job. She'd been picturing in her head how things would go, the two bonding over books. It was the perfect escape route from Roxanne's life. Claudette's expression warned Roxanne that maybe her dreams of bonding over books may not be happening. She'd most likely be fighting over the care Claudette needed. Too bad. Roxanne was here and she'd do her job and do it well. If she had to fuss with Claudette to get it done, then the woman better be prepared for stubbornness that may match hers. She has no family left. Her mind is only half there, but she hangs on for whatever reason. Stubborn woman. But I gotta give her credit. She's holding her own. After the fall, though, I knew it was time to get someone in here. I'm still shocked that she agreed. If she gives you any trouble... Renee kept her tone in a low hush, probably in order not to upset Claudette. I'm sure we'll be fine. You're right across the way if I need anything. You don't have to worry about either of us, Roxanne assured her friend. She did have a few concerns, but she would take it one day at a time and one incident at a time. Renee Ellison's plea had actually been a godsend. She wasn't afraid of a stubborn woman who wanted nothing to do with people. Roxanne felt the same way. After a loss, it wasn't easy to bounce back and want to be around anyone. Maybe two recluses would be good for one another. That was her hope, anyway. A summer in an old house was the reprieve she needed. Bring on the stubbornness. Roxanne was ready. Claudette stared with nothing to say at Roxanne the entire time she prepared dinner that night. Outside, the windows rattled as a summer storm rolled through. Rain beat down on the old shutters in a soothing rhythm. Roxanne turned off the stove and covered the pan with a lid to let the rice cool. She turned around to set the oven mitt down to find Claudette's blue eyes penetrating through to her soul. It was slightly eerie, actually. Roxanne smiled, thinking of the phrase she'd just used from one of Claudette's many books. Dinner's almost ready, she informed her. Claudette blinked, a scowl deepening across her wrinkled face. You've an old soul, don't you? Startled by the out-of-nowhere question, Roxanne settled in a chair across from the woman. What do you mean? At least she was talking now instead of glaring. You carry burdens on your shoulders. Claudette's words sent a chill down her spine. What the hell did that mean? Maybe she'd prefer the silence and glaring after all. Roxanne laughed, nervous. Don't we all? Claudette leaned forward. You lost someone. She didn't question. It came out more as statement, as if somehow she knew. Recently. Damn, she was good. Too good. Hot tears pricked her eyes before she could hide them. Claudette's scowl faded, and a more concerned, apologetic expression took its place. I did, Roxanne whispered, rushing to her feet. She didn't want to talk about it, not with anyone, especially a stranger. Dinner's cold enough to eat now, I'm sure. She gestured to the cabinets. Do you have a preference of dishes to use? Earlier she'd spotted 5 different dish sets, all antique and still in beautiful condition. All the stories that could be told from all the things in this home. No wonder Claudette didn't want to leave here. She must have had plenty of memories surrounding her, inspiration everywhere. This house and the woman reminded her of a Gothic novel. Then again, when it came to books, most everything reminded Roxanne of a novel, but she loved Gothic romances, a little bit of mystery, an old house, and ghosts. She hoped to hear many of these stories if Claudette would be willing. Roxanne wouldn't start the questioning too early. The last thing she wanted was to upset Claudette. The red ones will do, my dear, Claudette suggested, her tone a little more chipper. A gust of wind rattled the windows as Roxanne found the red dishes. She filled one plate full of rice, scalloped potatoes, and fish fry, and then set it in front of Claudette. Here you go. I hope you like it. Nerves rattled within her at what her new employer thought of dinner, let alone her being in the house right now. Claudette didn't offer up a word, but she did pretty much devour the contents of her plate immediately. That would suffice enough as a compliment, she supposed. Dinner tasted delicious. Roxanne didn't know if Claudette's silence had to do with how much she did or didn't enjoy the food, or if she had nothing more to say, but the hush settled over them like a blanket, the only sound being the clink of silverware against the dishes and the howling storm outside. Roxanne bowed her head, avoiding the woman's steely gaze as she continued to chew. Why? Was she trying to figure her out, or what? Claudette dropped her fork on the table. Roxanne sprung to action, unsure what was wrong. The woman held up a hand. Come no further. I am fine. I want you to do something for me this summer. Oh, what's that? Roxanne took another bite of fish, awaiting a response. I have an important story I want to write before I die. I need your help. If I give you all of my notes and guide you, then I want you to finish it for me if I go before then. Mid-chew, Roxanne coughed. Did she hear her right? Of all the things Claudette could have said, this one shocked Roxanne the most. In a good way, but still, she had no idea what to say to this. This is a story that must be told. Please say you'll help me, please. With wide eyes, Claudette leaned forward again, completely adamant about this. Okay, I'll help you, Roxanne stuttered, totally caught off guard. Splendid. Claudette beamed. After dinner, we'll go find my notes. She relaxed and finished the rest of her dinner, still sending shivers down Roxanne's spine with intense stares. What the hell went through the old woman's mind? This summer proved to be interesting already. She loved the woman's stories and couldn't be more excited about the idea of helping Claudette with one. For the first time in a long one, Roxanne felt needed. A good start to their bonding. Maybe Claudette liked the idea of someone else here after all, but didn't want to show it. Chapter 2. Roxanne spent most of the evening curled up on the couch, lost in conversation with Claudette about her story. The woman rocked in her chair, covered in her afghan, rambling on and on about her notes, her writer quirks, and what she wanted. She insisted several times that this would be a top secret project. Roxanne loved Claudette's handwriting and found it easy to read. She was one of those old school people who still loved to handwrite things. Excitement coursed through her. She was eager to lie in bed later and spend hours reading these notes. This wasn't how Roxanne expected her first night to go with Claudette. What a pleasant surprise. I think I want to sleep now, Claudette announced out of the blue. Help me to bed? Of course. Roxanne moved toward her, pulling off the afghan carefully, and aided Claudette to her feet. Even after her fall, the woman's mobility and strength was still strong. She stumbled a little, but with just a bit of help, she climbed to her feet and reached for her walker. Renee made it seem like this would be a chore, so this came as a surprise to her. She'd take it. Roxanne eyed the stairs, wondering if today would be the day Claudette attempted them. According to Renee, she'd been sleeping in the downstairs room for the last 2 months. Hopefully, at least for the next week or so, she'd continue to do so. Roxanne wasn't sure how she'd handle stairs if the woman decided she wanted her upstairs bedroom. Breathing a sigh of relief when Claudette headed right towards the room instead of the stairs, she quickly followed. When Claudette's walker got stuck as she tried to enter the bathroom, Roxanne went to help until the woman's hand landed on her arm, grasping her wrist with a surprisingly tight grip. I can do this on my own, she insisted. I do like you here, but don't treat me as the invalid everyone thinks I am. One fall didn't kill me, and it damn well doesn't make me helpless. Her tone was sharp and to the point. Roxanne reeled back, slightly stunned at the outburst in tone, but it definitely fit Claudette's personality. Sure thing. I'll try to remember. Just make sure you ask for help when you need it. I admit I'm not sure when I should jump in and help or wait for you to ask. She wouldn't admit, in exact words, that Claudette intimidated the hell out of her. Stubborn old woman, but as long as she knew Roxanne had no plans to go anywhere and would help when needed, and sometimes when not wanted, she'd abide by Claudette's wishes and allow her to keep a sense of her independence. She could understand and sympathize with that. Thank you. Now, will you help me? She cocked her head toward the walker. Roxanne hesitated. She changed her mind quickly, that's for sure. What game was she playing? I don't want you to take matters into your own hands, is all, Claudette scoffed, getting irritated. Goodness, young people these days. Yes, ma'am. With that, she helped ease the walker into the large, lavish bathroom and awaited further instructions. Roxanne stood back as not to crowd Claudette's space or hover, and only moved closer when asked. 15 minutes and no hassles later, Claudette rested comfortably in bed. She closed her eyes, leaned back on her pillow, and let out a sigh. Good night, child. Sleep well. Don't let any of the old house sounds scare you. There are many. Roxanne stopped and stared at her. It's storming again, and I love the sound. I bet I'll sleep well. I hope you do. Please don't hesitate to call out if you need me. I look forward to discussing more with you in the morning. Claudette yawned and waved her away. Roxanne smiled, thankful their first day went much more smoothly than she had imagined, and turned to leave the room. The moment she approached the door, the sound of a music box playing caught her attention. Okay, she could handle old house noises. Random music boxes playing? That one puzzled her mind. Pulse racing, Roxanne glanced back at Claudette, but she hadn't moved. The sound seemed to get louder with each note. It was beautiful, but the music haunted her. How was this happening right now? Where was it coming from? Claudette had warned her about old house sounds, but this went far beyond that. The folder full of Claudette's notes awaited her in the living room. Distracted by the music, Roxanne headed up the stairs, listening for the direction of where the sound originated from. As she climbed the stairs, she could hear the music better and better. How the hell was this possible? She must be hearing things, all in her head. Maybe her thoughts about Gothic books got to her more than they should have. Roxanne stopped in the middle of the hallway. Somewhere right above her, she heard the music loud and clear. The melody repeated over and over again. At the end of the hall was a set of pull-down stairs. After a slight hesitation, Roxanne pulled them down, making sure they were sturdy, and climbed them to the attic. Wind continued to rattle the house. Thunder rumbled almost constantly. She gasped at the sight before her as she made it to the top. What a beautiful room! Though dusty, it was very well put together. Who did this room belong to? On the large oak dresser, she found the music box. Oh, this is stunning! It was a handcrafted piano-shaped music box, displayed proudly. The odd thing, aside from it playing by itself, was that the rest of the room had at least an inch of dust covering the furniture, except for the music box. It sat in the middle looking new and shiny and so very out of place. An eerie feeling crawled across her skin. The hairs on the back of her neck stood up, but she was enchanted with the piece. It called to her in so many ways. Stepping closer, Roxanne reached out to further inspect it. She ran her hand along the edges, touching the section displaying the keys. Someone had put a lot of time and effort into this. How is this possible? She stared right at the piano. She found no evidence of someone else in the house. Claudette couldn't even make it up the stairs, and she'd been in bed when this went off. I'm tired. That has to be it. She stepped away from the dresser and stopped cold in her tracks. A peach-colored rose, fresh and cut, laid across the table near the door. It hadn't been there before, right? Had she missed this? Either way, it was fresh. Something wasn't right with this whole scenario. Roxanne bolted, closed the door, and headed downstairs to grab her notes, still completely and utterly shaken. Had she stepped into a haunted house?